Welcome back to another episode of What Should I Get Pierced? My name is Scott Wilkinson. I'm a professional body piercer and have been since 1994. Now on the show, we're going to take a look at 6 different people. We look at their faces and their ears. I tell you what would be good possibilities for piercings for them, and ultimately what I think would look best. Now the first person we have to look at is Caroline. So when we're looking at Caroline, she already has the trifecta, which is the nostril septum, as well as the medusa. Now, as far as adding new stuff, she said possible a little bit more extreme, I could totally see some horizontal eyebrow piercings. As you can see, that would look really, really cool, kind of angling up like that, or possibly kind of going through the little peaks up there, kind of like just skimming through there. A little gem on each side would look really, really nice. Now, as far as other piercings, maybe some high nostril piercings, and depending on where that bone is, but I could see some nostril piercings way up there to kind of counterbalance with the lower part of the nose. And as far as other lip piercings, first thing I would see would be snake bites. You can see snake bites on the outskirts, right where the end of the poutiness of the lip ends, just like so. Now, as far as my ultimate picks, I would have to go with high nostrils and snake bites. Now, let's take a look at her ear. Now, with her ear, you can see that there is a stretched piercing. This looks like it might be a flush tunnel, which means there's a little bit of a flare on the end, so it might not be as big as the flare, or this could be a stone plug with a hollow, so it could be a little bigger than I'm anticipating, but I would guess that's probably about 1/2 inch, maybe 5/8. Now, as far as other piercings, forward helixes. You can see that there's a nice shadow right down this direction here, which means we could fit a couple extra piercings right up top up there. I could also see, I wish I could say an industrial, but you can see by the glare right here how much that area sticks up, so that would probably cause a problem. But we could do some almost like forward helix piercing styles where it's on the ridge. You can see how it's folded over and you have a little gem on each side and a small disc on the back. Really epic look that not a lot of people can pull off. That would work well for you. We also could do a conch piercing. We could do the doth piercing. Very well pronounced tragus, which means we could do a curved barbell vertically through the tragus. You see how you kind of have the 2 beads on the top and bottom? Or a traditional tragus works as well. As you can see, this ear has a lot of options. Now, as far as my ultimate picks, I would want to do those 2 upper helix piercings I was talking about earlier, as well as a vertical tragus. And up next, we have LOD. Now, LOD has glasses and no visible piercings. She mentioned she likes to get piercings in pairs, that way they heal up a little faster, instead of doing the one after the other deal. And with that, I would say dolphin bites. You see her lips are nice and pouty. Little dolphin bites down there on the bottom would be super, super cute, as well as a medusa. See a medusa with a nice big gem up top or a nice big cluster would be really, really beautiful. I could also see the double nostril piercings for sure. And that's pretty much what I would see. Now, as far as my ultimate picks, I would just do the medusa. Now let's take a look at her ear and see what we can do there. Now, looking at LOD's ear, you can see a conch piercing and a couple of lobe piercings. Now, first thing I would want to add, or the first thing I see, would be a couple more conch piercings. I could see one kind of up above with a slight angle like so, and also another one below, kind of flaring it out, kind of a little bit closer together on the inside and further out on the outside. If you wore rings through here, they would stack beautifully. It's a really, really nice look. Now, as far as other piercings go, the tragus looks pronounced but not real big, but if you did a small little stud in there, I could totally see that. I could also see a rook piercing. You can see how this it folds in like that. Where I would put this would be right up here at the upper part, just so there's enough of a fold underneath to where it would come out nice and neat, just like so. Now, we have no room for an industrial because the anti-helix area here, but if you wanted to do anti-helix, It would be beautiful, but you can see that there's glasses and she wears glasses, so that would probably rub up against that area. So we probably want to refrain for that. If she wasn't wearing glasses, that anti-helix would be a lot of fun. Now, as far as my ultimate picks, I would want to do that double conch and the tragus. All right, and before we look at Holly, if you're not already subscribed, make sure you subscribe. It really helps us out a lot. Now, Holly already has a lot of piercings, and the piercing she has is symmetrical, and she wants to stick with the symmetrical balanced look, which I totally approve of. Now, as far as adding more piercings here, I could see a double Ashley piercing. Not if you could too, but see how a double Ashley piercing there really kind of completes and brings it down a little bit more. And if you didn't want to do that, we could also do snake bites. Just like that, because we need a little bit more on the outside. If you didn't want to do snake bites, maybe some dahlias on the corners of her mouth. Lots of cool options. Now, as far as upper area, like the upper nose, we could do the high nostril piercings. I know I mention them a lot, but I'm a huge fan of them. And we could also do some eyebrow piercings. Now, the way her hair kind of covers most of the outside, maybe we could do some a little bit inner. Just kind of like so, more vertical towards the center. As far as my ultimate picks for Holly, I'm going to say the double Ashley. Let's take a look at her ear. Now, looking at her ear, she has 2 earlobe piercings, and that's pretty much all I see here. So let's start decorating. Now, the tragus might be a kind of fun piercing to do. We can't go too deep because there's not real pronounced, but I can totally see a tragus piercing. Maybe even a snug. It looks like this area does stand up enough, and we could be able to put a little curved barbell inside there. I could also see a flat piercing. A flat piercing with a nice big cluster right up top. We could also do the industrial piercing. Now, a lot of people like to have the industrial kind of going across at that angle, but with the shape of her ear, it's probably going to work better like so. Just avoiding this area here where the skin raises up and puts pressure against it. But totally see that industrial across her ear. I could also see the conch piercing. Conch piercing works for virtually everyone. And then the last thing I would like to suggest up here would be a triple helix. You can see how we have 3 piercings up across the top there, whether studs or rings. That would look very, very nice. Now, as far as my ultimate picks, I'm going to say the snug and a double helix. And the next person we get to look at today is William. Now, William just got his septum pierced. Congratulations on that. It looks epic. Now, as far as adding more piercings, you know I like the trifecta, so I could see a possible double nostril piercing, 1 on each side. I could also see the Medusa right in between the facial hair. The Medusa works so well when you have a mustache. Now, another fun piercing we could do would just be a straight up labret. Now, going a little bit higher up to the lip line, so that way when it's healed up, maybe even wearing the ring through there. Now, as far as eyebrow piercings, 100%. The way the hair's parted, I could see an eyebrow piercing on this side, possibly even the double. High nostrils, definitely an option. And now my ultimate pick for William would be the Medusa and the labret, or the cyber bites. Let's take a look at William's ear. As we look at William's ear, there are a lot of cool possibilities. The first one I want to mention, something I don't mention a lot, would be a conch to conch industrial. The conch to conch would be the upper conch down to the lower conch, like so, and then behind the earlobe, you would see the bead, and behind the flat up here would be the other bead. Now, these heal really rough and take a long time. They're tough to sleep on, but man, these things are cool. Now, as far as adding other piercings to the conch, there might be the tragus piercing. If you didn't do the conch to conch, we could also do the doth piercing, but as you can see, it would interfere with the conch to conch. We could also do a rook piercing, which could go parallel with the conch to conch if that was in there. I don't know if you pick it up on this, but I like the conch to conch industrial on here. And the last option I'm going to suggest here would be the normal industrial from side to side across the top of the ear, just like so. So, my ultimate picks here would be the conch to conch and a rook. Up next, we have Lauren. Now, Lauren mentioned she talked to her piercer, and her piercer said that she's not a good candidate for a lot of piercings because her face is too small, which is probably the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard because jewelry comes in many sizes. You are a great candidate for a lot of piercings. Let me show you. Now, you did mention spider bites. I could totally see spider bites. That's one of the first things I saw. Two small little studs on the side of your lip. Granted, it has to be oversized to swell, and then we put the small one in there, or two cute little rings in there. Absolutely. Now, as far as if you did spider bites, I could maybe even balance out with a Monroe on the other side. You already have your septum pierced, and the septum ring is kind of large, so what I would do is maybe downsize that septum ring, put something a little tighter in there, and that might even give you room for the Medusa in the middle as well. You're a great candidate for high nostrils. You can see how you get some nice even piercings right up there. You're a great candidate for the eyebrow piercing. You said you had it before and it got infected. If you went to that same piercer, they might not know how to take care of it properly. But if you watch my videos, you know that that wound wash should heal this up in only a couple months. You might be a great candidate for a bridge piercing. I don't know if you wear glasses, and if the bone doesn't come up too high right here, a bridge piercing with a couple small beads could be super cute as well. So you have a ton of options. Now, as far as my ultimate picks, I would say a tighter septum ring with the Medusa and the spider bites. Now, let's take a look at your ear. Now, looking at your ear, you have a couple lobe piercings and two helix piercings. It looks like some sort of a locket kind of post in the lower one and a captive bead ring on top. Now, that piercer did say you have a good conch to pierce. They weren't lying there. You totally do. You have enough room for a nice large cluster in there. You could do multiple piercings, one lower, one higher, or just a single one with a nice blingy gem or something fun in the middle. So conch is definitely an option for you. Same thing with the doff. You can see there's a nice dark area where you put a nice ring around there. You could also do a rook piercing. If you were willing to retire your upper helix piercing, you could totally get away with an industrial piercing. Sometimes it sucks. You might have to lose one to gain something a little bit bigger, if you liked the industrial look. And another industrial possibility would be the vertical industrial, where we start at the top here and it kind of come down through the conch and the beads kind of on the back side of the earlobe. So you'd have a nice long bar going across your ear. You want options? We have a lot of options for you. And the last thing I would offer here would be a possible flat piercing. It doesn't look too curvy in that area, so therefore we put a nice big beautiful cluster or something just really ornate and fun. So a lot of fun options. Now, my ultimate pick here, I would have to go with the double conch piercing. And once it heals up, all those rings going down there would look really, really cool. And before we go on to the very last person of the day, who is Moss, I do want to say thank you very much for sending in these pictures. I thoroughly enjoy doing this. Now, taking a look at Moss, we can see that there is a septum piercing and a bridge piercing. Now, the bridge piercing looks a little high and a little bit shallow. If it's a fully healed piercing, it's healed up. But if it's a newer piercing, you might want to think about taking this out because they do reject out and leave huge, huge scars. Now, if you were to get your bridge pierced, generally it's a little bit lower and a little bit deeper so it doesn't pull the tissue out. Now, if your bone comes all the way to the edge and that's why it's the way it is, that could cause bone erosion and cause problems. So be careful and make sure this piercing is done correctly. But that would be my suggestion. Take it out, bring it down a little lower with a nice straight bar. Now, as far as other piercings go, 100% of Medusa. I could also see angel bites. I could also see a vertical labret. And also mantis piercings. Nice lower mantis piercings in the lower part of the forward-facing nostrils. And my final pick for Moss would be mantis piercings and the vertical labret. Let's take a look at her ear. All right, another stretched lobe. I love seeing stretched lobes. We saw so many more in the past. Glad they're coming back. As far as other piercings go, definitely see a Brook piercing. Nice ridge there. A curved barbell would be epic. I could also see some forward helixes. Maybe just one. Heal that up, and when it heals up, you could put the ring across there. Then lay nice and flat to the face. That's something you don't see every day as well. I could also see some helix piercings starting in the little nook. One there and one there. Evenly spaced. Also see a doth piercing. Now if we did the doth, this is going to be the centerpiece. It's going to fill up most of that conch area, but it would look really cool if you went with the larger ring. And if you didn't want to do that, conch piercing, heal it up, put the ring around the conch. Last suggestion I would say would be the tragus. It's kind of hard to tell from this angle if it really protrudes out enough, but it looks like there's enough, so a nice little bead, ball, gem, cluster, a lot of options to put in the tragus. As far as my ultimate picks, I am going to say the rook and the conch. Now, if you enjoy my video, make sure you subscribe, make sure you hit the thumbs up, and of course, keep putting holes in your body. We'll see you on the next video.